Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Sarah and I am the Programmes Assistant at Embercombe. We're all here tonight for the Introductory Journey webinar, where we're going to hear more about our programme called The Journey. Just going to admit some more people into the Zoom. We're going to hear from Mac and Tugba, who are our programme leads, and they're going to tell us more about the Journey programme. And we're also going to hear from Charlotte and Gareth, who are Journey alumni, and they will share more about their personal experience of attending the Journey. There will be room for you to ask questions, so please type your questions in the chat and say if you'd like to ask them on video or if you would like me to ask them on your behalf. First, to say to all those that haven't visited Embercombe yet, Embercombe is a beautiful 50-acre rewilding site at the edge of Dartmoor that offers courses, programmes and experiences designed to help us connect with ourselves, with community and with wild nature that exists inside and beyond us. Embercombe is a place to breathe, to reconsider, rewild, regenerate and relearn. And we look forward to sharing this stunning land with you. Mac, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Mac. I'm feeling a little bit uncertain because I was rather impressed with the way that I lit myself for this webinar, and I've received what I think is negative feedback from Tugba, but it's too late to change it. So I hope this slightly strange way that I'm appearing as a face in the darkness is okay with you. Started the journey. I don't even remember what year it was, but sometime, something like 2005, six, something like that. And I'm very, very happy to say that it's only ever, if anything, increased in its vitality and relevance, and though I say it myself, its power. And I think it is testimony to this experience that somehow it's still running and still running well. I'm now getting on a bit, so I'm sort of I suppose beginning to imagine how my role might change at Embercombe and in the world over the coming years, assuming I have years, which I think I do. But I'm loving this life, as I actually mostly always have. And in spite of everything that's happening in the world today, and so much that is so ugly in many ways, I do not feel diminished or indeed somehow encouraged to quieten, but rather to do everything I can to continue to speak on behalf of our Mother Earth people and the more than human.
Thanks so much, Mac. Tugba, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. And for those who don't know, Mac is the founder of Embercombe, which he missed saying. And just to say, Mac, I think you look great with that light. I take my feedback back. So it is. My name is Tugba. G is silent. It's a little bit confusing, I know. And as you can tell, I am not from this country. And I've been sitting with this, and it feels very relevant to bring it to this moment as an answer to this question. Last week, I was at an event called Listening to the Land, and there was a group of wonderful women at a panel discussion, which was so inspiring. And they were talking about, indigeneity and the importance of them connecting with their own lands, including a Welsh woman. And it was very beautiful. And it did make me think about my place. Like, I am a woman who, I have migrated to this country and fostered such deep connection with this land, while of course honoring and respecting my own land. And it became my life's work to help people, perhaps to facilitate that others also can have that connection in many different ways. So as I bring myself here, so I wanted to start with that. I am a woman who migrated from another land, and this is my work to help people to connect with the land. And I do this with, with my facilitation work at Embercombe, with the programs that I co-lead with Mac, and also my work outside Embercombe through embodiment and breath work and coaching and so on. And my official job title at Embercombe is Programs Manager, as I oversee the programs here and facilitator. And I also live at Embercombe, so I'm one of the rare community members here. And it's really lovely to see you and have you here. I was quite overwhelmed when I find out about the number of registration, and then seeing you all here, it really, really touches me. So thank you.
Thanks, Tugba. It's great to hear from you. Now we're going to go over to Charlotte, who's going to share more about her personal experience of attending the journey.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Charlotte, and I've been thinking about how I can, in the space of 2 to 3 minutes, describe how life-changing the journey was for me. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is prior to doing the journey, I was 30, which I know is very young, but in my head at the time, I really had believed that my life was over. I thought that all of my best years were behind me and I was dreading the future. And it's almost exactly 1 year on from my time doing the journey, and I still am reeling from the experience. And it's not even, and it's sometimes it's even in ways that I don't see in myself, but people will tell me, you look different, or you seem a lot more confident and like unsure of yourself, and not in kind of an egotistical way, but just I really think that I was sleeping on the gifts that I had to offer to this world. I was sleeping on my connection with nature and what it had to offer. And since my experience with the journey, I feel sure of my gifts and what I have to offer to this world. And every birthday that comes, I'm excited and I'm so grateful to have another year on this beautiful earth. And I think that I always struggled with the concept of authenticity and who am I and what is my place in this world. And doing the journey helped me to answer those questions. And I'm still on the journey. As Mac and Tuba will tell you at the end of the journey, it doesn't finish on the last day. I'm still working on, and I don't even like to say working on, it's a process and it's unfolding beautifully. And I feel like I just have such an open heart to the world. And all of the difficulties that may come up in life, I feel like I'm just able to know that it's okay, because I have the connection with nature. I have the connection with what I'm giving to the world. So if anyone is on the fence about doing the journey, I can't recommend it enough. Anyone who will listen to me, I recommend it to absolutely everybody. I'm trying to get all of my family and my friends to do it because it really has changed my life so much. And if anyone after the call has any other questions or wants to ask me any further questions about, obviously I can't disclose what happens on the journey because that's what makes it so magic. But I'm really passionate about spreading the word about Embercombe because it has been so life-changing for me.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. It's so great to hear from you, and it really makes the whole experience come alive to hear your words and how much it's changed you and brought your confidence. We're going to now have some questions. So this first question is for Mac. You created the journey around 16 years ago. what was the question or longing in you that gave rise to this programme, and what makes it still relevant today?
Well, I think it was the longing, probably not so much the question. Well, maybe to some degree question. I suppose I'd had this bewilderingly powerful experience with these Indigenous mentors that I had. And that went on, well, in the end, it went on for nearly 20 years. But I think at that point, I can't remember, it had maybe gone on for 10 or 12 years, something like that. And I was left with this feeling of, how do I offer something to those people whose hearts resonate with the idea that we are here to give? We will, of course, receive. We'll always receive. And the more we give and receive, the more we will understand and deepen in our love relationship with this life and with our earth and with the human and the more than human. And the journey emerged from that longing. What I experienced from the people that taught me was, you could, if you were kind, you could say it was rough. And if you were inclined to be brutally truthful, you would say it was brutal. It was really, really harsh. And I ended up not convinced that this is the best way to offer this or carry forward this extraordinary invitation to join your life at a most deep and profound level forever, for the full duration until your last breath. And out of this emerged the journey. So we are proud of the fact that what we offer on the journey, though it is unknown and mysterious to those of you that have not yet attended, it is fundamentally kind, respectful, and loving. And nobody is told to do anything. They are invited and they can always refuse. And I feel good about the fact that the whole team of us really offer something that is wholesome, that is not asking you to join anything except life, and it is given with as much integrity and authenticity as we can muster. I am still on my journey. I will always be on my journey until my last breath. And perhaps that's one of the things that helps it stay so keen and so relevant. But I'd also add that the way that our whole world has gone in the 16 years or so since this program began, I think we could safely say that the world has got more frightening, more scary, more wild, more unpredictable, more dangerous to our children, to older people, and everybody in between, and indeed to our forests and our rivers, our oceans, and the more than human. So I do feel very strongly that it is absolutely relevant. And I wish I could find a way to bridge to what we might call the mainstream, and find a way in which we can really bring people from truly all walks of life into the journey. We have made a lot of progress in that, but it's not close to what I'd like to be, because I do feel that it is very needed at this time. And I'll just say one last thing. I don't really think that during the journey we offer you something new. We help you uncover what you've always known before, if indeed you don't know it now. And if you do know it now, we help somehow your joining with that knowing in the fullest possible way, so that you can go on and live, irrespective of whether you happen to be 80 something, 70 something, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20 something, the days that you have. I think it's fun. You would laugh, you might cry, and you'll certainly feel. That's the journey.
Thanks so much, Mac. Now this one question is for Tugba. Without giving the mystery away, what happens during the journey? What themes and questions are explored, and what happens afterwards?
Thanks, Sarah. So that is my challenge, to talk about the journey without giving anything away. This is what we ask all the participants. So, it is my job also not to mention about the particular peculiarities of the program. So I would say the journey starts before you arrive. It starts before you arrive, and you send a form and you start filling out the form and then make some reflections. And then you pack your bags, you prepare, you get on your journey towards Embercombe. And then you will also have before you come, the back row team arrives. And the back row is the group of people who've done the journey, and they come back and they just give back to the program. And they will be there to meet you. And that day, we basically give lots of space for you to arrive, not only physically, but really allow your spirit, your soul to catch up with you and go to the land, meet the trees, introduce yourself, and reconnect with what actually brought you to the program, what actually brought you to Embercombe. So we give you that space. And after a while, we say, okay, now come and let's meet the human family. And we don't try to create a community, but what we find from our experience, community emerges when we create that space. And after the first day, our arrival day, we go into a rhythm, and it is in some ways, it's the same rhythm every day. You wake up at the same time, often go to bed at the same time. And then there's this, we say, if you listen carefully, you might hear that drum beat going constantly. And of course, the activities are different each day. Some of them are similar, same, but some of them are different. And your response to things also change. But there's that, rhythm that keeps beating, that drum beat beating. And during this period, so much happens. All the human things come out. When you ask me about the themes, Sarah, all the themes come from the group in so many ways. And they are all very human, and there are also things that is relevant to our natural world and our earth. But there are some questions that we explore. And one of them is I want to refer back to Mary Oliver's poem, where she asks, what is it that you like to do with this one wild and precious life? So we really encourage you to explore, what does that even mean for you? And then also the choice that we have in our life, the choice to how you choose to live your life. So we explore that as well. And as Max said, everything is an invitation. And I just find that fascinating, because we wanted to take the pressure off you, and that that you're empowered to make that choice, and you show up because you want to show up on all the sessions in the way that you show up. And the other questions, which are, I think I briefly saw someone put in the chat, and some of you might have seen this on the website. There are 3 questions that we explored. And this is not necessarily we say, this is the session and we're going to sit down and explore. It is the whole week is around those questions. And they are what is it that I most deeply and profoundly love? And we look into this thing that we really deeply and profoundly love, because someone said, and I totally agree with this, love is a political act. It's not passive. It's a political act, because when you love something that you know that you want to protect, that you want to show up for it, and it takes you to your responsibilities. So the next question is, what are my deepest and most profound responsibilities? So recognize these. And then you look into, how am I going to fulfill those responsibilities? So the last question is around the gifts, the deepest and most profound gifts. So we explore those questions, and they have a weight to it. And it may be that by the end of the week, you still don't have the answers to these questions, but it is okay. It has started, the work has started. You are journeying, you will be journeying or continue your journey with those questions that hopefully will take you home. And that's another thing that we work with, the wholeness. I think, Mac, earlier you mentioned about the body and the emotion, and then that we name them as 4 pillars of humans: body, mind, emotion, and spirit. What does it mean to be a whole person? And the journey has a very strong element of healing. That we do understand, and we know that it's really important that we tend to ourselves, heal our traumas, tend to our wounds, the stories that we bring from our, childhoods or later in life. So there is a transformation in that sense. But we always say that it is not just for the sake of, so that I'm very happy or that I'm healed. It's so that how we then offer that, our gift to the world. So it is a call to action. And we name this as the Twin Trail. It is one of our principal teachings at Embercombe: inner work and outward action. And we never separate the two from each other. So this is a bit about what happens during the week. But just very briefly, what happens after the program is that we send you off, and we go very deep during this week, but we make sure that we are up before you leave, so that you got the resource and resilience to meet the world as you go out. And then we send you lots of information that will be supportive on your journeys, and there's peer-to-peer support. And we are very lucky to have pool of coaches who provide up to three coaching sessions for the journey alumni to help them integrate their experience. And then there is obviously I already mentioned the back row, becoming a back row member on the following journeys, which, Gareth has done it. He may speak to that later as well, which is a very powerful experience, because you come back and view the program from a different point of view, and that you maybe catch up with the things that you might have missed. Also walking the Twin Trail, because you're still holding your, doing your inner work, and you're in service to those people who are, attending the program. I guess lastly, we also got the regional alumni groups. And I know from places that people come together and sit by the fire and do things and share their experiences as well. So this is a little bit about the, integration part of the journey.
Thanks, Tugba. That leads on really well to our next question as well, which is for Mac. How does being immersed in nature at Embercombe support people's inner transformation and encourage outward action?
Yeah, so we'd have to go right back to the Mesolithic era to find a time when we still knew at a very fundamental level that we belonged in the family of all things as part of nature. As soon as we began to farm in the Neolithic, we began a journey, and I'm not against farming, by the way. I'm really, I once applied for agricultural college actually, but it's a whole thing, but to farm in a regenerative way. But as soon as we began farming, as soon as we began to fence in animals, to make decisions about how that we could control nature, really became the story. We began this long journey of believing ourselves, I think, ultimately really to be gods. We became a little bit power crazy, I think. And we lost ourselves, I feel. So much of what's happening now is, I think, a rather logical result of, hey, Teddy. Teddy's black, so you can hardly see him. You might catch his face. So he likes it when I talk about these sort of things. When you arrive at Embercombe, as Tugba said, we give you space. We make the invitation that you introduce yourself to our valley. You should say hello to the robins and the blackbirds and the sparrows and the chaffinches and, you know, all of these little beings, to the harvest mice, the vole family, the snakes, the insects, the trees, the grasses. And as you do that, I think you begin to soften. And you continue that all the way through the week. Makes you feel a bit weepy every now and then. As you feel yourself, oh gosh, like this is a lake of love that I could just swim in forever. Indeed it is. And that is an invitation. Every time we go into nature, the possibility exists that we can experience again that deep sense of belonging. Not only, as a wonderful woman author said, whose name I always forget, not only that we love nature, but that she loves us, and that we're part of that family. Now, I would say that when we really move into that relationship with nature, incidentally, nature is just another word for life, because everything is nature, including us. I don't know anything that isn't nature. I think we are naturally moved, because this is what nature does all the time, to move towards reciprocity, to give, in other words. And to give is an essential quality for human beings to feel good about who they are. Our society is completely, compulsively addicted to receiving and gathering and storing, but it's forgotten that the source of most human happiness is not only to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel wanted, to feel valued, both ourselves, valuing ourselves and valued by others, but it is to give. And so it is a very natural response from nature to give. In the same way, the trees offer their seeds, in the same way that all of nature is entwined, us included, in this reciprocal relationship of giving and receiving. So that takes it a long, long, long way from a duty or a kind of must or martyrdom or anything. It also takes us a long, long way from the idea that at some point in our lives we retire and that this no longer applies. In fact, it says exactly the opposite. I'm with the Tuhoi Maori people who I met when I was in New Zealand some years ago. And they said, as our people get older, we expect more and more from them. We never stop asking for more. So by the time they reach my sort of age and are beginning to look with some surprise at their 80th birthday, they should by now, in relationship to life, be, as it were, standing on a surfboard, aboard a big wave, and truly embodying what it means to be a human being who's invested in learning and growing throughout their life. And life is very kind, so if the truth is that's not quite how it's been, I got on this surfboard rather late, and I'm not even quite sure that I'm that good a surfer, it's okay. Because it's still inspirational to see an older person in that relationship to their lives. And of course, you know, I've just plucked out an older person, but honestly, imagine if we were young with all the vigor that youth gives us. And even at that age, we knew what we deeply and profoundly love. We knew deeply and profoundly the full sweep of our responsibilities to ourselves, to those close and dear to us, to those other families of humans, this country and beyond, and also all of the same to the trees and plants and creatures and animals and beings all the way around the world. Imagine, and connected with what we've been gifted by creation to give. And I do just want to say one thing. No matter what you've done so far, or what age you may be, I would posit the idea that you may not even know what your gifts are. I do know that quite a lot of people harbor the secret belief that they don't have any particular gift. And that is not what my Indigenous mentors taught, and it's not what I understand either. I had no idea. And in many ways, I was very ill-equipped to start Embercombe and do that, to speak, to write, and to co-hold ceremonies which pretend to be programs like the Journey. It was all a surprise to me. I thought I was good at shoveling concrete and, you know, things like that. So entertain that possibility that you have gifts, unique gifts, and it is urgently important for everyone else and everything else, but also for your own deep satisfaction of a life well lived, that you discover those gifts and then deploy them generously for the remainder of your life.
Thanks so much, Mac. That's very inspiring and empowering to hear. There might be some people on the call that are feeling the longing to come on the journey, but they might have some doubts, one of which being, am I ready? So, Tugba, what would you say to someone who's feeling the pull to do the journey, but isn't sure if they're ready?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say will be like, just do it. Life is too short. There's no need to delay. And I was, I'm just reflecting on my one key question that always guided me and helped me is what if? I always approach when I still do, when I feel the fear or if something is a big investment and it's out of my comfort zone, whatever it is, I'm like, what if? What if this gives me what I really need at this time in my life to make that change that I want to make in my life? What if it gives me that, little magic so that I can see, life in a way that I am longing to see or experience it in the way that I want to experience it? And this what if question opened so many doors to me, including coming on the journey myself. At the time, I didn't have enough funds to do that. And I applied for a bursary place. And since that what if question, so many things changed in my life in the most profound way. And I also want to recognize that it is, it can be nerve-wracking. It's very natural to feel apprehensive and a bit nervous, especially because you have no idea what happens in the journey. And hopefully, the longevity of the program that you met us now and also all the testimonials and blog posts about the previous participants can reassure you that it is, it's a meaningful experience. But yeah, definitely understand how it could, hard it could be. And believe me, you wouldn't be the only one. Each journey, I sit on the first day where I can see everyone coming in through the doors, coming in the to the first meeting, and I see like heads down, there's some like holding the body, there's tension, there's no eye contact, and I can really feel the tension. And I sit on the same seat on the last day, and then I see them walking in. And this time something has shifted. The heads are up, there is a smile, there is a connection with one another. The way that people hold their body has changed. And it is beautiful. That's my most, it is such a pleasurable feeling for me to do that. And I would say, about the being ready, it doesn't matter. You're not meant to be ready, or you're not, no one expects you to be ready or figure it all out before you show up. I think we are there to support you in that process and look after you, create that space so that you can really drop into that and allow things to unfold for you. And you also, maybe there will be things that will surprise you about yourself. And earlier, Mac, you said about remembering, and I that is exactly the experience of the journey. You're like, I know this. This has been always in me, and I now remember. I come back. So that is what I would say, just to, let go of the unnecessary baggage and also hold the tension. If there is tension, hold the tension and do it anyway. And lastly, I want to say, I tell this to all the participants when they arrive. What you get out of the journey really depends on how you show up. We always tell this. And, if you come and you're just like seeing what is happening here, let me see and let me observe the experience, you are not living the experience. So you won't get out of the experience as much as you would probably get otherwise. And the energy of pushing is also not a great energy. Like, what can I get from, I need to get something out of this. I've done all this investment and time and energy. That's also not a helpful energy. But what I like is that leaning in, as we say, like that pressure, just the right amount, that edge. The program will sometimes take you to your edges. It won't be always, you won't be always in your edge, but there will be times, and hopefully that will, help for the growth. But that leaning in can make that difference. So I would love to have you all on the journey so that I can do the job that I love doing. Yeah, so I leave it there.
Thank you, Tugba. We're now going to hear from Gareth, who is a Journey alumni, and he's going to speak about his experience of doing the journey himself.
Oh, we can't hear you, Gareth. No. Okay, you will reconnect. I think that's what you're saying. Great. Perhaps we can open the room for questions while waiting for Gareth.
Yes, we've got a question here from Esther. How many participants are there in each group? How personalised is the guidance? Is there any personal mentoring happening during the programme itself?
Numbers wise, it's between 12 and 24, I think. Something like that. Depends on the number of bookings. I would say again, if either of that sounds too few or an awful lot, it's the sort of feeling that you might have at the beginning and you very quickly just forget once it begins. The personal guidance and personal attention is largely driven by your request. So you're always free to come and ask myself, Tugba, or the person leading the back row, or any of the back row, for time. And wherever we can, we'll give that to you. But and then, of course, in the one-to-one coaching after the program, that is one-to-one. I'd just say, however, that I feel very strongly that it's about trusting yourself and this process. That if you give yourself to this experience without too many preconceived ideas about what you need and how it needs to work out for you, you are most likely to receive the best that this experience can offer you.
And I would say there's a lot of mentoring from the trees and the plants and the land itself as well.
Gareth, how are you doing? Gareth lost his voice during the journey and has been silent ever since in a sort of fairly joyful manner. He's hoping that this evening he breaks silence. He's called in the troops to come and try and help him.
By the way, I just want to name that row. Gareth's partner is also Journey alumni, so she's done the journey too. Okay, we can take the next question.
Yes. While we're waiting for Gareth, we've got a question here from Alan. I haven't been to Embercombe before, and I'm interested in the Journey, the Twin Trail, and the Hearth programmes. Are they all good options for a first visit, or is one a better option?
Thanks, Alan. That is a very common question, and it makes really sense to ask that question. All the programs are open for the first comers. It used to be the Hearth used to be the second. You couldn't do the Hearth unless you've done the journey. But we find that it didn't matter, and some people actually find it helpful to do the Hearth first. I think Mac and I are on the same page about this. The journey is the foundation, and that we would be encouraging you to do that first. However, we have so many people who've done the Twin Trail first, and then came and did the journey. So hopefully you experience all of them, but journey is a good start.
We've got another question from Kirhan, which might lead on from the previous question. Could you talk to the relationship between the journey and the Twin Trail experiences?
The Twin Trail is a teaching that underpins all of Embercombe's work, I think, and is referred to on the journey, and not insignificantly, but significantly. But it's never attended to primarily all the way through as the topic, as it were. So it's a little bit like the Hearth program takes one piece of the journey experience and dives deeper with it. And the Twin Trail is the same. It's an extended program, the Twin Trail. It lasts over something like 6 months, and it involves some research driven by yourselves of gathering how you're perceived by friends, family, and colleagues, etc. And then one-to-one coaching, and then an immersive experience in wild nature, and then a gap while it's integration and application of what's been learnt, and then the second module, which is more focused at the outer, we come to Embercombe, and then that is followed again by more coaching, etc. So, well, yeah, I think that's the key difference. I mean, if it was me and if it was a meal, then I would say do the journey first, because the journey holds all the core concepts, core stories, core kind of elements to all the rest of our work. But as Tugba has said, people sometimes come in through other doors, Twin Trail or Hearth. The only other thing I think I'd add is that the Hearth program is probably the only one of those three which a person might feel inclined to come and do again, and possibly again and again, because it's like a renewal ceremony. I could relate that to some of the ceremonies I did when I was learning from my Indigenous mentors. You've done it once, you've done it 3 times, you're going to do it a 4th time, because you do it every year in the middle of the summer, because that it's in your heart to do that. So there is no mystery. We don't make any mystery about what the content of the Hearth is, unlike the journey. And I think that's the key difference. It's the focus and that we give to that one Twin Trail concept. Would you agree, Tugba? Yeah. Okay. Gareth, how are you doing? Oh dear, no. That is such a shame. If you were to use your phone, might that help? If you have a phone that does that sort of thing. So while we just, I just wanted to mention a bit more about, I've forgotten. What was I going to say something more? I can't remember what it is at the moment. No doubt come back.
I do have one thing to mention, actually. I realized we both forgot to mention that our team, also, we mentioned, obviously the 2 of us co-leading it, and then the back row team, and that we also have the journey coordinators. So there is a pool of them, 3 or 4 of them, who they rotate, and they are facilitators on the program while also holding the back row, which is a lot of work, and they are very skillful to be able to hold the group and the back row at the same time. And they've been part of the team for a while, and all of them have got their own unique gifts, and very aligned with us all.
I saw a question relating to how the journey might compare to some other programs like MKP's Mankind Project's New Warrior Training. And I think I would say that the MKP's New Warrior Training is really quite confronting, and it is in your face. I think it's very powerful and very successful. The journey, I would say, is very powerful, but it's, I don't know how quite to put this, but we just keep opening space, and people bring to it. And I think it touches right through the whole thing to do with your relationship to your life, not really as a man or as a woman or in any gender, but just as you, human being, in life, with life, at this time. And if I had the means to do so, I'd probably say consider doing both. Gareth, you're in a...
Could you try? Can you hear me now? Good idea on the phone, Mac.
You found your voice.
Yeah. It was under the bed. So if hopefully everybody can hear me now. So I think I did the journey in March 2024. So it's been a little while, but as Tugba mentioned a while ago, I've also been back to participate on the back row in the journey. And it was interesting to hear one of the recent questions around the journey or the Twin Trail. because actually when I first heard of Embercombe and looked on the different programs and courses and ceremonies that are run there, it was the Twin Trail that really drew me. But the dates didn't work out, and it was the journey that I went on first. And certainly from my perspective, I'm glad I did it that way round. There was that kind of anticipation and nervousness before arriving. But to be honest, from the moment I arrived, the welcome and the warmth in which I was held for the entire week was staggering. The team at Embercombe, Tugba, Mac, the back row, the kitchen staff, everybody who's there creates such an incredible space that holds you in the ups and the downs that can come during the week. And there were so many times during that week where I just thought, oh my God, this is what life could be like. We're living together in a group of people who only recently were strangers, and yet now are I have a depth of friendship with, which you can go your entire life knowing people and not reach that level of friendship. And that's just within 1 week. And then on top of that, to reconnect and to deepen that connection with the natural world was amazing. It was super special. And I've carried that with me going forward. So in whatever, coming up to 2 years now, I guess. And I've carried it forward in sort of some small ways and some big ways. The small ways are just that the sort of that the little recognition of the small beauties in life and how precious they are, and how actually a life that I think when I went to Embercombe, I was searching for clarity around purpose, clarity around what I needed in my life to feel fulfilled. And actually just coming away from Embercombe with a sort of a gratitude really, and an appreciation of how extraordinary my life already was. And it was just the eyes with which I chose to see it. And so that's been helpful, and that continues to be helpful. And there were lots of moments during that week which come back to me quite frequently and help to guide me and help to steer me, just to keep myself closer to what matters and further away from the things that I don't need or don't sort of want really. There were times, I think at the end of the week, I muttered it to myself, but I remember saying something along the lines of, that's the closest to sorcery that I think I've ever seen. And by that, I mean magic, because the way the program is put together in a form of a ceremony is like nothing else I'd experienced. There were times when it was hard. There were times when it was easy. But to be in a group of people on the same journey, each there for their own reasons, some not quite sure at the beginning of the week, but everybody at the end of the week clear as to why they were there, what it had given them, and ready to take that back into their lives, continues to be a really special experience. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gareth.
Thanks so much, Gareth. I'm really glad that we got to hear from you. Yeah, that was a really beautiful recollection of experience. So we're coming to a close now. Apologies that we've run over in time. I'd really like to encourage everyone now to go and have a look on our website and find out more information there. We will send a follow-up email with links and the recording to this webinar, so you can watch again or share with friends and family that might be interested. I'm going to put some links in the chat to our website. And if money is a barrier, we have a tiered payment system. You can have And there are bursary places as well, so please do get in touch. Yeah, you're welcome to get in contact with any further questions that you might have. Thank you so much for attending tonight. Thank you to Mac, thank you to Tugba, thank you to Charlotte, and thank you to Gareth. And a big thanks to everyone who has attended.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.